Listen to me very carefully, because what I am about to tell you will determine whether you wake up in time or sleepwalk into the catastrophe that is already unfolding before your very eyes. 2026 is not just another year on your calendar, it is the edge of a cliff, and most of you are running toward it with your eyes closed, convinced that tomorrow will be just like yesterday. But I have news for you, my friends. Tomorrow will not resemble anything you have known before, and if you do not understand what is happening right now in this very moment, you will be swept away by forces you cannot even see coming. The world as you know it is ending, not in some distant future, not in some abstract apocalypse, but right here, right now, in the choices you make today, in the consciousness you refuse to awaken, in the comfortable lies you keep telling yourself because the truth is too terrifying to face. You see, I have been watching humanity for decades, and I have seen this pattern repeat itself over and over again. People wait until the house is burning before they even smell the smoke. They wait until the relationship is destroyed before they notice they stopped loving. They wait until their body breaks down before they realize they have been poisoning it for years. And now, on a global scale, on a spiritual scale, humanity is doing exactly the same thing. You are waiting for permission to wake up, waiting for some external authority to tell you it is time to change, waiting for a crisis so overwhelming that you have no choice but to transform. Well, my friends, that crisis is here, and it has a date, 2026. And if you think I am being dramatic, if you think I am exaggerating, then you have not been paying attention to what is happening right under your nose. Let me paint you a picture, a very ordinary picture that you will recognize immediately. You wake up in the morning, and before your feet even touch the floor, you reach for your phone. You scroll through news that makes you anxious, through social media that makes you compare yourself to others, through messages that demand your attention, your energy, your life force. You go through your day moving from one task to another, one obligation to another, one distraction to another, and somewhere deep inside you, there is a voice, a small voice that whispers, "Is this all there is? Is this what my life has become? Is this what I am meant for?" But you silence that voice. You silence it with busyness, with entertainment, with food, with alcohol, with shopping, with anything that will make you forget that you are living a life that does not belong to you, a life designed by others, a life that is slowly suffocating your soul. And here is where it gets dangerous. Here is where the real problem begins. Because you think you have time, you think you can wake up later, you think you can start living authentically tomorrow, next year, when the kids grow up, when you retire, when things settle down. But let me tell you something that will shake you to your core. Time is running out, not just for you personally, but for humanity as a collective. 2026 is not some arbitrary date I pulled out of thin air. It is a convergence point, a moment when all the forces that have been building for decades will reach a critical mass. And when that happens, there will be no middle ground, no comfortable fence to sit on, no lukewarm existence to hide in. You will either be awake or you will be swept away. You will either be conscious or you will be consumed. You will either transform or you will perish. not necessarily physically, but spiritually, which is far worse. Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, oh, here we go again, another doomsday prediction, another spiritual teacher trying to scare us into enlightenment. But that is not what I am doing here, my friends. I am not trying to scare you, I am trying to wake you up. And sometimes, unfortunately, fear is the only language that penetrates the thick walls of unconsciousness that you have built around yourself. You see, the problem is not that you are bad people. The problem is not that you are stupid or lazy or unworthy. The problem is that you are asleep, deeply asleep, and you do not even know it. You think you are awake because your eyes are open, because you go through the motions of life, because you have thoughts and feelings and opinions. But true wakefulness, true consciousness, true awareness, that is something entirely different. And most of you have never experienced it, not even for a single moment. And here is the tragedy. Here is what breaks my heart when I look at humanity. You are living in the most extraordinary time in human history, a time of unprecedented opportunity for transformation, a time when all the tools for awakening are available to you, a time when consciousness itself is evolving at an accelerated pace. And yet, most of you are completely oblivious to it. You are so caught up in your small dramas, your petty conflicts, your endless pursuit of things that will never satisfy you, that you are missing the greatest show on earth, the evolution of consciousness itself. And 2026 is when the curtain rises on the next act. And if you are not ready, if you have not done the inner work, if you have not awakened to who you truly are, then you will not even have a seat in the theater. You will be left outside, wondering what happened, wondering why life suddenly became so difficult, wondering why nothing makes sense anymore. Let me be very specific about what I am talking about, because I do not deal in vague spiritual platitudes. I deal in reality, in practical, tangible, observable reality. Between now and 2026, you are going to see an acceleration of everything, an acceleration of technology, an acceleration of social change, an acceleration of economic instability, an acceleration of political chaos, an acceleration of environmental crisis, and most importantly, an acceleration of the split between those who are conscious and those who are not. This split is already happening. You can see it everywhere if you have eyes to see. But by 2026, it will become so pronounced, so undeniable, that there will be no hiding from it. People will fall into one of two categories: those who have awakened to their true nature, who have done the inner work, who have transformed their consciousness, and those who remain asleep, who cling to the old ways, who refuse to evolve. And the gap between these two groups will become a chasm so wide that communication between them will become almost impossible. Now, let me ask you a question, and I want you to answer it honestly, at least to yourself. Which group are you in right now, today, in this moment? Are you awake or are you asleep? Are you conscious or are you mechanical? Are you living or are you merely existing? And before you rush to answer, before your ego jumps in to defend itself, let me give you some criteria to help you determine the truth. If you find yourself constantly stressed, constantly anxious, constantly worried about the future, or regretting the past, you are asleep. If you find yourself in relationships that drain you, that diminish you, that make you feel small and unworthy, you are asleep. If you find yourself working at a job you hate, doing things you do not believe in, living a life that does not reflect your deepest values, you are asleep. If you find yourself constantly seeking validation from others, constantly comparing yourself to others, constantly feeling like you are not enough, you are asleep. If you find yourself addicted to anything, whether it is substances or behaviors or people or drama, you are asleep. If you find yourself unable to sit in silence for even 5 minutes without reaching for a distraction, you are asleep. And here is the really frightening part, the part that should make you sit up and pay attention. If you remain asleep, if you do not wake up before 2026, the consequences will not be abstract or theoretical. They will be concrete and devastating. You will watch as opportunities pass you by, opportunities for love, for growth, for success, for fulfillment. And you will not even understand why. You will watch as others around you seem to thrive while you struggle, and you will blame circumstances, bad luck, other people, anything except the real cause, which is your own unconsciousness. You will watch as your relationships deteriorate, as your health declines, as your financial situation becomes more precarious, as your sense of meaning and purpose evaporates, and you will feel like a victim of forces beyond your control, when in reality you are simply experiencing the natural consequences of remaining asleep in a world that is rapidly awakening. Let me tell you something about the universe, about existence, about the way reality actually works. Because most of you have been fed lies about this your entire lives. The universe does not reward unconsciousness. It does not support sleepwalking. It does not sustain people who refuse to grow and evolve. The universe is constantly pushing you toward awakening, toward consciousness, toward your highest potential. And when you resist that push, when you cling to your old patterns and beliefs and identities, life becomes harder and harder and harder. It is not punishment, it is simply physics, spiritual physics, if you will. You cannot swim against the current of evolution without exhausting yourself. You cannot resist the flow of consciousness without creating suffering. You cannot remain unconscious in a world that is waking up without experiencing increasing levels of pain and confusion and chaos. And this is exactly what is going to intensify as we approach 2026. The pressure to wake up, the pressure to evolve, the pressure to transform. It is going to become so strong that people will break under it if they do not learn how to flow with it, how to surrender to it, how to cooperate with it. You are already seeing this happening. Look around you. Look at the levels of anxiety and depression and addiction and suicide and violence and madness in the world. These are not random phenomena. These are symptoms of a species in the throes of transformation, a species that is being forced to evolve but is resisting with everything it has. And those who resist the most will suffer the most. That is not a moral judgment. That is simply a statement of fact. Now, I want to shift gears for a moment and talk about something that might seem unrelated, but is actually at the heart of everything I am saying. Well, I want to talk about your self worth, your self esteem, your sense of who you are and what you deserve. Because here is what I have observed in working with thousands and thousands of people over the decades. The primary obstacle to awakening, the primary reason people remain unconscious, is not lack of information or lack of opportunity or lack of intelligence. It is lack of self love. It is the deep, unconscious belief that you are not worthy of awakening, that you are not deserving of transformation, that you are not good enough to experience the highest states of consciousness and the most fulfilling expressions of life. You see, somewhere along the way, most of you were programmed with a virus, a psychological virus that tells you that you are fundamentally flawed, fundamentally broken, fundamentally unworthy. Maybe it came from your parents who projected their own unconsciousness onto you. Maybe it came from religion that told you that you were born in sin. Maybe it came from society that constantly bombarded you with messages about how you are not thin enough or rich enough or successful enough or attractive enough or smart enough or whatever enough. And this virus has been running in the background of your consciousness your entire life, sabotaging your relationships, sabotaging your success, sabotaging your health, sabotaging your happiness, and most importantly, sabotaging your awakening. Because here is the truth that nobody wants to tell you. Awakening requires a certain level of self-worth. Transformation requires a certain level of self-love. Consciousness requires a certain level of self-acceptance. You cannot hate yourself into enlightenment. You cannot shame yourself into awakening. You cannot criticize yourself into transformation. And yet, this is exactly what most of you are trying to do. You are trying to evolve while simultaneously believing that you are not worthy of evolution. You are trying to transform while simultaneously believing that there is something fundamentally wrong with you. You are trying to wake up while simultaneously believing that you deserve to remain asleep. And as we approach 2026, as the pressure to evolve intensifies, this issue of self-worth is going to become even more critical, even more central, even more determinative of your fate. Because those who have done the work of healing their relationship with themselves, those who have learned to love themselves unconditionally, those who have released the programming that tells them they are unworthy, they will ride the wave of transformation with grace and ease and joy. But those who still carry that virus of unworthiness, those who still believe on some deep level that they are not good enough, they will be crushed by the very same wave that lifts others up. Let me give you a very practical example of how this plays out. Imagine a woman, let us say she is 52 years old and her marriage of 25 years has just ended. Her husband has left her for a younger woman and she is devastated, not just because she lost the relationship, but because it confirms her deepest fear about herself, that she is not lovable, that she is not desirable, that she is not enough. Now, this woman has a choice. She can use this crisis as a catalyst for awakening. She can use this pain as fuel for transformation. She can use this ending as a beginning, or she can collapse into victimhood, into bitterness, into the story that life has been unfair to her, that men are terrible, that love is impossible. that she is too old and too damaged to ever be happy again. And here is what determines which path she takes: her level of self worth, her capacity for self love, her willingness to see this crisis not as evidence of her unworthiness, but as an opportunity to discover her true worth. If she has that foundation of self love, she will grieve the relationship. Yes, she will feel the pain. Yes, but she will not let it define her. She will not let it destroy her. She will not let it convince her that she is unlovable. Instead, she will use this experience to go deeper into herself, to discover parts of herself she had neglected during the marriage, to reclaim her power, to reinvent herself, to become more fully who she truly is. And when she does that, when she transforms through the crisis rather than being destroyed by it, something magical happens. She becomes magnetic, she becomes radiant, she becomes irresistible. Not because she is trying to attract anyone, but because she has finally attracted herself. She has finally come home to herself. She has finally fallen in love with herself. But if she does not have that foundation of self worth, if she still believes on some level that her value comes from being chosen by a man, from being validated by external circumstances, from fitting into some societal definition of success or desirability, then this crisis will destroy her. It will confirm all her worst fears about herself. It will send her spiraling into depression and despair and a desperate search for someone, anyone, to make her feel worthy again. And in that desperate state, she will make terrible choices. She will settle for relationships that diminish her. She will chase after validation that can never satisfy her. She will waste years of her precious life trying to prove to the world and to herself that she is lovable, when the only person who needs to be convinced is herself. Now, multiply this scenario by millions, by billions, because this is what is happening to humanity as a whole right now. We are going through a collective crisis, a collective dark night of the soul, a collective opportunity for transformation. And the outcome for each individual will be determined by their level of consciousness, their capacity for self-love, their willingness to evolve. And 2026 is when this process reaches a critical point, when the sorting happens, when the wheat is separated from the chaff, when those who have done the inner work rise to a new level of existence, and those who have not remained stuck in the old patterns of suffering. Let me talk now about relationships, because this is where most people experience the most pain and the most confusion and the most unconsciousness. You have been taught to think about relationships in completely backward ways. You have been taught that your value depends on being in a relationship, that your completeness comes from finding your other half, that your happiness is determined by whether someone else chooses to love you. This is not just wrong, it is insane. It is a recipe for suffering. It is a guarantee of disappointment and heartbreak and endless drama. Here is the truth about relationships that nobody wants to hear. You do not need a relationship, you want a relationship. And there is a world of difference between those two things. When you need a relationship, you are coming from lack, from emptiness, from the belief that you are incomplete without another person, and that energy of neediness is the most unattractive energy in the universe. When you need a relationship, you will tolerate behavior that diminishes you. You will compromise your values. You will abandon yourself. You will become a beggar at the door of love, hoping that someone will throw you a scrap of affection. But when you want a relationship, when you come from a place of wholeness, when you know that you are already complete and you are simply choosing to share your life with someone because it enhances your joy rather than fills your emptiness, everything changes. The whole dynamic changes. The quality of relationship that becomes available to you changes, and most importantly, you change. And as we move toward 2026, relationships are going to become even more challenging for those who have not learned this lesson, because the old paradigm of relationship, the paradigm based on need and dependency and unconscious contracts, is collapsing. You cannot sustain those kinds of relationships anymore. The energy will not support them. The consciousness will not allow them. They will either transform into conscious partnerships or they will end. And they will end painfully if you resist the transformation. You are already seeing this happening everywhere. The divorce rates, the relationship conflicts, the inability of people to connect authentically, these are all symptoms of the old paradigm dying. And by 2026, it will be completely dead. And those who are still trying to operate from the old paradigm will find themselves alone, not because there are no partners available, but because they themselves have become unavailable for real relationship, for conscious relationship, for the kind of partnership that the new consciousness demands. So, what does a conscious relationship look like? What does it mean to relate from wholeness rather than from need? It means that you come to the relationship already complete, already fulfilled, already happy, and you are inviting another complete, fulfilled, happy person to dance with you, to play with you, to explore life with you, not to complete you, not to fix you, not to validate you, but to celebrate with you, to grow with you, to evolve with you. It means that you do not look to your partner to make you happy. You bring your happiness to the relationship and it multiplies. It means that you do not blame your partner when you feel bad. You take responsibility for your own emotions and you do the work to understand them and heal them. It means that you do not try to change your partner. You accept them exactly as they are and you love them for who they are, not for who you wish they would be. It means that you are willing to be vulnerable, to be honest, to be authentic, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it is scary, even when it risks the relationship, because you value truth more than comfort, you value growth more than security, you value consciousness more than convenience. Now, let me ask you another question, and again, I want you to be brutally honest with yourself. Are your current relationships, whether romantic or friendships or family, are they based on consciousness or unconsciousness? Are they based on wholeness or neediness? Are they based on growth or stagnation? And if you are honest, most of you will have to admit that your relationships are largely unconscious, largely based on unspoken contracts and unexamined expectations and unconscious patterns that you learned in childhood. And here is what I want you to understand. If you do not transform these relationships, if you do not bring consciousness to them, if you do not do the work of becoming whole within yourself, then by 2026, these relationships will either end or they will become unbearable. Because the energy that has been sustaining unconscious relationships is being withdrawn. The tolerance for unconsciousness is decreasing. The price of remaining asleep in relationship is getting higher and higher. And for those of you who are single, for those of you who are looking for relationship, let me give you some very direct advice. Stop looking seriously. Stop looking. Stop searching. Stop trying so hard. Because that energy of seeking is precisely what is keeping you from finding. Instead, focus all your energy on becoming whole, on falling in love with yourself, on creating a life that is so fulfilling and so joyful and so meaningful that you do not need anyone else to make it complete. And when you do that, when you truly do that, something miraculous happens. You become a magnet. You start attracting people who are also whole, who are also conscious, who are also on the path of awakening. And the quality of connection that becomes possible is beyond anything you have experienced before. But if you continue to search from neediness, if you continue to look for someone to complete you, if you continue to believe that you are not enough by yourself, then you will keep attracting people who mirror that belief back to you. You will keep ending up in relationships that confirm your unworthiness. You will keep experiencing the same patterns over and over again. And by 2026, you will be so exhausted, so disappointed, so bitter that you will close your heart completely. And that, my friends, is a tragedy, because your heart is the doorway to awakening. Your capacity to love is your greatest gift. And if you close it because you have been hurt, you are throwing away the very thing that could save you. Now, let us talk about money, because this is another area where most of you are deeply unconscious, deeply programmed, deeply stuck in patterns that do not serve you. You have been taught to think about money in very limited ways. You have been taught that money is scarce, that you have to struggle for it, that rich people are somehow bad or greedy or less spiritual, that wanting money is selfish or materialistic. And all of these beliefs are keeping you poor. Not just financially poor, but energetically poor, spiritually poor, because money is simply energy. It is a form of life force. And when you block the flow of money in your life, you are blocking the flow of life itself. Here is what I want you to understand about money. And this is going to challenge everything you have been taught. Money is not the root of evil. The love of money is not the problem. Poverty is not noble. Struggling is not spiritual. And you do not have to choose between being rich and being conscious. In fact, I would argue that true consciousness naturally leads to abundance, because consciousness is about being in flow with life, and money is one of the ways that life flows. When you are conscious, when you are awake, when you are aligned with your true nature, you naturally attract resources, you naturally create value, you naturally prosper. Not because you are greedy or materialistic, but because you are in harmony with the abundance of existence itself. But most of you are not in harmony with abundance. Most of you are in conflict with it. Most of you have deeply unconscious beliefs about money that are sabotaging your prosperity. You believe that you do not deserve to be wealthy. You believe that money will corrupt you. You believe that you have to work hard and struggle and sacrifice to earn money. You believe that there is not enough to go around. You believe that if you have more, then someone else has less. And all of these beliefs are lies, complete lies. But they are running your life, they are determining your financial reality. And until you bring consciousness to them, until you examine them and question them and release them, you will remain stuck in financial struggle. And here is why this matters in relation to 2026. The economic systems of the world are going through massive transformation. The old structures are collapsing. The old rules are changing. The old securities are disappearing. And by 2026, the financial landscape will be completely different from what it is today. Those who are conscious about money, those who have healed their relationship with abundance, those who understand how to create value and flow with change, they will thrive in this new landscape. But those who are still operating from scarcity consciousness, those who are still clinging to the old beliefs and the old structures, those who are still waiting for someone else to provide security for them, they will struggle immensely. They will feel like victims of forces beyond their control. They will watch their savings evaporate and their security disappear and their standard of living decline, and they will not understand why, because they will still be looking at the external circumstances rather than at their own consciousness. So what does it mean to be conscious about money? What does it mean to have an abundant mindset? What does it mean to heal your relationship with prosperity? It means, first of all, that you recognize that your financial situation is a reflection of your consciousness, not of external circumstances, not of the economy, not of your education or your background or your opportunities, but of your beliefs and your thoughts and your energy. It means that you take full responsibility for your financial reality. You stop blaming others. You stop making excuses. You stop playing the victim, and you start asking yourself, what beliefs am I holding that are creating this reality? What patterns am I repeating that are keeping me stuck? What am I afraid of that is preventing me from stepping into abundance? It means that you start to see money as a tool for expressing your creativity, for serving others, for making a contribution, rather than as something you have to chase or struggle for or feel guilty about. It means that you give yourself permission to desire wealth, to enjoy luxury, to live abundantly without apologizing, without feeling like you have to justify it, without believing that it makes you less spiritual. It means that you understand that the universe is infinitely abundant, that there is more than enough for everyone, that someone else's wealth does not diminish your own, that prosperity is not a zero-sum game. It means that you start to focus on creating value rather than on getting money. Because when you create genuine value for others, money flows to you naturally, effortlessly, joyfully. And it means, most importantly, that you heal the emotional wounds around money, the shame, the fear, the guilt, the anxiety, all of the heavy emotions that you have been carrying around money your entire life. Because these emotions are like weights around your ankles. They are keeping you from rising. They are keeping you stuck in struggle. And until you release them, until you heal them, until you transform your emotional relationship with money, you will never experience true prosperity, no matter how hard you work, no matter how many opportunities come your way. Let me tell you a story, a true story, about a man I knew many years ago. He came to me in his early 50s. He had been working his entire adult life. He had been responsible. He had been diligent. He had followed all the rules. And yet, he was barely getting by financially. He was living paycheck to paycheck. He had no savings, he had no security, and he was terrified about his future. And when I talked to him, when I went deep into his consciousness, I discovered that he had a belief, a deeply unconscious belief, that he had inherited from his father. Who had inherited it from his father? That money was scarce, that you had to fight for every penny, that rich people were somehow immoral, and that he personally did not deserve to be wealthy because he was not smart enough, not talented enough, not worthy enough. And this belief had been running his life for 50 plus years. It had been determining every financial decision he made, every opportunity he passed up, every risk he was too afraid to take, and the result was a life of constant financial stress and struggle. So I worked with him to bring this belief into consciousness, to examine it, to question it, to see it for the lie that it was. And slowly, gradually, over a period of months, he started to release it. He started to see that money was not scarce, that he did not have to struggle, that he was worthy of abundance. And as his consciousness shifted, his financial reality shifted. Opportunities started to appear that he had never noticed before. Ideas started to flow that he had never had before. People started to show up who wanted to support him, and within 2 years, his income had tripled. His savings had grown, his stress had disappeared, and he was living a completely different financial reality. Not because the external world had changed, but because his consciousness had changed. And this is what is possible for all of you. This is what will be necessary for all of you as we move toward 2026. Because the old ways of making money, the old structures of employment and security and retirement, they are all dissolving, they are all transforming. And if you do not transform your consciousness around money, if you do not heal your relationship with abundance, you will be left behind. You will be struggling while others are thriving, and you will not understand why. Now let me talk about success, about achievement, about ambition, because this is another area where most of you are deeply confused, deeply programmed with ideas that do not serve you. You have been taught to define success in very narrow ways. You have been taught that success means making a lot of money, or having a prestigious career, or achieving fame, or accumulating possessions. And so you spend your entire life chasing these external markers of success. And even if you achieve them, even if you get the money and the career and the recognition, you still feel empty inside. You still feel unfulfilled. You still feel like something is missing because you have been chasing the wrong things. You have been pursuing someone else's definition of success rather than discovering your own. Here is what I want you to understand about true success, about real achievement, about genuine fulfillment. Success is not about what you have, it is about who you become. It is not about external accomplishments. It is about internal transformation. It is not about impressing others. It is about expressing yourself, your true self, your authentic self, the self that exists beneath all the conditioning and programming and expectations. True success is waking up every morning excited about your life, It is doing work that feels meaningful and purposeful. It is having relationships that nourish your soul. It is feeling at peace with yourself. It is knowing that you are living in alignment with your deepest values and your highest vision. And here is the beautiful paradox. When you pursue this kind of success, when you focus on becoming rather than having, when you prioritize consciousness over accomplishment, the external success follows naturally. The money comes, the recognition comes, the achievement comes, but it comes as a byproduct of who you have become rather than as the goal you are chasing. And it comes without the stress, without the struggle, without the sacrifice, without the feeling that you are selling your soul for success. But most of you are doing it backward. You are trying to achieve external success, hoping that it will make you feel successful inside. You are trying to accumulate things, hoping that they will fill the emptiness. You are trying to prove your worth through accomplishment, hoping that it will make you feel worthy. And it does not work, it has never worked, it will never work, because the emptiness is inside, the unworthiness is inside. And no amount of external success can fill an internal void. And as we approach 2026, this issue is going to become even more critical, because the old definitions of success are collapsing. The old structures of achievement are dissolving. The old markers of status and prestige are becoming meaningless. And people who have built their entire identity on these external measures are going to experience a profound crisis. They are going to wake up one day and realize that everything they have been working for, everything they have been sacrificing for, everything they have been proving, it does not matter. It does not fulfill them. It does not make them happy. And they are going to have to face the question they have been avoiding their entire lives. Who am I really? What do I really want? What is my life really about? And those who have already done this work, those who have already questioned the programming, those who have already discovered their own definition of success, they will navigate this transition with grace and ease. But those who are still clinging to the old definitions, those who are still trying to prove themselves through external achievement, they are going to suffer immensely, because the ground they are standing on is disappearing. The rules they are following are becoming obsolete. The game they are playing is ending. So let me give you some very practical steps for redefining success in your life, for discovering what true achievement means for you, for creating a life that is genuinely fulfilling rather than just externally impressive. First, you need to get very quiet and very honest with yourself. You need to turn off all the external voices, all the shoulds and supposed tos and expectations, and you need to ask yourself, if I knew I could not fail, if I knew no one would judge me, if I had complete freedom to design my life exactly as I wanted it, what would I create? What would I do? How would I spend my time? Who would I spend it with? What would bring me the most joy and meaning and fulfillment? And I want you to really sit with this question. I want you to journal about it. I want you to meditate on it. I want you to let the answer emerge from the deepest part of you, not from your ego, not from your conditioning, but from your soul, from your essence, from the part of you that knows what you are really here for. And once you have that clarity, once you have that vision, then you need to start taking steps toward it. Small steps, consistent steps, courageous steps, even if it means disappointing others, even if it means going against expectations, even if it means leaving behind security and comfort and approval. Because here is what I can promise you. If you have the courage to follow your own path, if you have the integrity to live according to your own values, if you have the commitment to become who you truly are rather than who others want you to be, your life will transform in ways you cannot even imagine right now. You will experience levels of joy and fulfillment and meaning that you did not know were possible. And yes, you will also experience fear and uncertainty and challenge. Because growth is not comfortable, transformation is not easy, awakening is not a smooth ride. But it is worth it. My God, it is worth it. Because the alternative is to reach the end of your life and realize that you never really lived, that you spent your entire existence playing a role, following a script, living someone else's dream. And that, my friends, is the real tragedy. That is the real failure. That is the real waste of a human life. Now, let me address something that I know is on many of your minds, especially those of you in the age range we are talking about, 45 to 60. You are thinking, it is too late for me. I am too old to reinvent myself. I have too many responsibilities. I have too many obligations. I have missed my chance. I should have done this when I was younger. And I want to tell you, with all the force of my being, that this is complete nonsense. This is just another lie that your conditioning has fed you. This is just another excuse to remain unconscious, to stay stuck, to avoid the challenge of transformation. You are not too old. You are at the perfect age. You are at the age where you have accumulated enough life experience to have wisdom, enough disappointment to have motivation, enough awareness to recognize that something needs to change, and hopefully enough time left to actually live the life you are meant to live. In fact, I would argue that this age, this stage of life, is the most powerful time for transformation, because you are no longer trying to prove yourself to others. You are no longer building your identity. You are no longer accumulating for the sake of accumulating. You are finally ready to ask the real questions, to seek the real answers, to live the real life. And 2026 is your deadline, not because the world will end, not because it will be too late, but because that is when the energies will be most supportive of transformation. That is when the window of opportunity will be most open. That is when the possibility for quantum leaps in consciousness will be most available. After that, it will still be possible to awaken. It will still be possible to transform, but it will be harder. It will require more effort. It will demand more courage, because the wave will have passed, the window will have closed, the opportunity will have diminished. So you have a choice to make right now, today, in this moment. You can continue sleepwalking through your life. You can continue playing it safe. You can continue following the script. You can continue waiting for permission or for the perfect moment or for circumstances to change. Or you can wake up, you can take responsibility, you can start doing the work. You can begin the journey of transformation. You can step into your power. You can reclaim your life. You can become who you truly are. And let me be very clear about what this work entails, because I am not talking about some abstract spiritual practice. I am not talking about sitting on a cushion chanting mantras. Although meditation is certainly valuable, I am talking about very practical, very concrete, very challenging inner work. I am talking about examining your beliefs, questioning your assumptions, challenging your conditioning, facing your fears, healing your wounds, releasing your resentments, forgiving those who have hurt you, forgiving yourself for the mistakes you have made, accepting yourself exactly as you are, loving yourself unconditionally, and then from that foundation of self-love and self-acceptance, creating a life that reflects your deepest truth, your highest values, your most authentic expression. This is not easy work. This is not comfortable work. This is not work that you can do in a weekend workshop or by reading a book or by listening to a talk. This is ongoing work. This is daily work. This is moment to moment work. This is the work of a lifetime, but it is also the most important work you will ever do, because everything else in your life depends on it. Your relationships depend on it. Your health depends on it. Your prosperity depends on it. Your happiness depends on it. Your very survival depends on it. Let me give you a framework, a structure, a step-by-step process for doing this work. Because I know that many of you are thinking, okay, I understand that I need to transform. I understand that I need to wake up. But how? What do I actually do? Where do I start? What are the concrete steps? So listen carefully, because what I am about to share with you is the distilled essence of decades of working with people, of observing consciousness, of experimenting with transformation. Step 1, and this is absolutely foundational. You must develop the capacity for self-observation. You must learn to watch yourself, to witness yourself, to observe your thoughts and emotions and behaviors without judgment, without identification, without getting caught up in the drama. This is what meditation teaches. This is what mindfulness develops. This is what consciousness is. The ability to step back from your mechanical patterns and see them clearly, see them objectively, see them as they are rather than as you imagine them to be. And I want you to start practicing this right now, today, every day, multiple times a day. I want you to pause whatever you are doing, take a breath, and simply observe. Observe what you are thinking, observe what you are feeling, observe what you are doing, observe the quality of your energy, observe the state of your body, observe everything. Just watch, just witness, without trying to change anything, without judging anything, just pure observation, pure awareness, pure presence. And as you do this, as you develop this capacity for self-observation, you will start to notice patterns. You will start to see how mechanical you are, how repetitive your thoughts are, how predictable your emotions are, how unconscious your behaviors are. And this awareness is the beginning of transformation, because you cannot change what you are not aware of. You cannot transform what you do not see. You cannot heal what you do not acknowledge. Step 2, and this follows naturally from step 1. You must start questioning your beliefs. You must start examining the assumptions that are running your life. You must start challenging the programming that you have been carrying since childhood. Every belief you have about yourself, about others, about life, about reality needs to be put on trial, needs to be examined, needs to be questioned. Is this true? Is this really true, or is this just something I was taught, something I absorbed, something I accepted without questioning? And I want you to be ruthless in this examination. I want you to be skeptical. I want you to assume that most of what you believe is probably wrong, or at least incomplete. Because the truth is, most of your beliefs are not yours. They were given to you by others, by parents, by teachers, by society, by religion, by media, and they are not serving you. They are limiting you. They are keeping you small. They are preventing you from experiencing your full potential. So question everything, especially the beliefs that seem most obvious, most true, most fundamental, because those are usually the ones that are most deeply conditioned, most unconscious, most in need of examination. Question your beliefs about yourself. Am I really not good enough? Am I really unlovable? Am I really incapable of success? Or are these just stories I have been telling myself? Question your beliefs about relationships. Do I really need someone else to complete me? Do I really have to compromise myself to be loved? Do I really have to settle for less than I deserve? Question your beliefs about money. Is money really scarce? Is wealth really corrupting? Do I really have to struggle to prosper? Or are these just lies I have been programmed with? Question your beliefs about success. Do I really have to sacrifice my happiness to achieve? Do I really have to prove myself to be worthy? Do I really have to follow someone else's definition of success? And as you question these beliefs, as you examine them in the light of awareness, many of them will simply dissolve. They will be revealed as the illusions they are. And you will be free of them, free to create new beliefs, empowering beliefs, liberating beliefs, beliefs that support your growth rather than limit it, beliefs that reflect your truth rather than someone else's conditioning. Step 3, and this is where it gets really challenging. You must start feeling your feelings. You must start allowing your emotions. You must stop running from pain and discomfort and fear and grief and anger and all the feelings that you have been suppressing and avoiding and numbing your entire life. Because here is what you need to understand. Those unfelt feelings are running your life. They are creating your reality. They are determining your choices. They are sabotaging your relationships. They are blocking your prosperity. They are preventing your awakening. You cannot think your way to transformation. You cannot intellectually understand your way to consciousness. You have to feel, you have to allow, you have to surrender to the emotional energy that is moving through you, and you have to let it move, let it flow, let it release, without trying to control it, without trying to fix it, without trying to make it go away. This is the work that most people avoid. This is the work that is most uncomfortable. This is the work that requires the most courage, but it is also the work that is most transformative, most healing, most liberating. So I want you to start creating space in your life to feel, to really feel, not to think about your feelings, not to analyze your feelings, not to judge your feelings, but to actually feel them in your body, to allow them to move through you, to express them in healthy ways. And this might mean crying, it might mean shaking, it might mean screaming into a pillow, it might mean dancing, it might mean writing, it might mean talking to a therapist or a trusted friend. Whatever allows the energy to move, whatever allows the emotion to release. That is what you need to do. And as you do this work, as you start allowing your feelings rather than suppressing them, something remarkable happens. The feelings lose their power over you. They stop controlling you. They stop defining you. They become just energy moving through you rather than the truth about you. And you become free. Free to choose your response rather than being a slave to your reactions. Free to create your reality rather than being a victim of your emotions. Step 4, and this is absolutely essential, you must start taking responsibility. Full responsibility, complete responsibility for your life, for your circumstances, for your relationships, for your emotions, for everything. No more blaming others, no more making excuses, no more playing the victim, no more waiting for someone else to save you or fix you or make you happy. You are the creator of your life. You are the author of your story. You are the artist of your reality. And until you accept this, until you own this, until you embrace this, you will remain powerless. You will remain stuck. You will remain at the mercy of forces you think are beyond your control. And I know this is hard to hear. I know this challenges your victim story. I know this requires you to let go of the comfortable position of being the one who was wronged, the one who was hurt, the one who had bad luck. But it is also the most empowering thing you can do, because when you take responsibility, when you stop blaming, when you recognize that you have been creating your reality all along, even if unconsciously, you suddenly have power, you suddenly have choice, you suddenly have the ability to create something different. So start practicing this today. Every time you find yourself blaming someone or something for how you feel or what is happening in your life, stop, catch yourself, and ask, how am I responsible for this? How am I creating this? What is my part in this? What can I do differently? And at first, your ego will resist this. Your victim identity will fight back. Your conditioning will scream that it is not fair. But persist. Keep asking the question. Keep looking for your responsibility. Keep claiming your power. And gradually, you will shift from victim to creator, from powerless to powerful, from unconscious to conscious. Step 5. And this is where transformation accelerates. You must start taking action. Aligned action, conscious action, courageous action. Action that reflects your truth rather than your fear. Action that moves you toward your vision rather than keeps you stuck in your comfort zone. Action that challenges your limitations rather than confirms them. Because here is the thing, awareness is not enough. Understanding is not enough. Insight is not enough. You have to act. You have to move. You have to do something different, because action is what transforms consciousness from potential to actual, from theory to reality, from idea to experience. And I am not talking about massive action. I am not talking about quitting your job tomorrow, or leaving your marriage tonight, or moving to another country next week. Although sometimes that is what is called for, I am talking about small actions, consistent actions, daily actions that are aligned with your truth, that move you in the direction of your vision, that challenge your old patterns and create new possibilities. Maybe it is having an honest conversation with your partner that you have been avoiding. Maybe it is setting a boundary with someone who has been taking advantage of you. Maybe it is starting that creative project you have been putting off for years. Maybe it is investing in yourself through a course or a coach or a therapist. Maybe it is changing your diet or your exercise routine or your sleep habits. Maybe it is spending time in nature or in meditation or in silence. Maybe it is reaching out to someone you have been resenting and offering forgiveness. Maybe it is simply saying no to something you do not want to do and yes to something you do. Whatever it is, whatever action your intuition is calling you to take, whatever step your soul is nudging you toward, take it. Do it. Now. Today. Do not wait for the perfect moment. Do not wait until you feel ready. Do not wait for permission or approval or certainty. Just move. Just act. Just do. Because action creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates more action. And before you know it, you are living a completely different life. You have become a completely different person. You have awakened to a completely different reality. Step 6, and this is ongoing. You must surround yourself with consciousness. You must create an environment that supports your awakening rather than pulls you back into sleep. You must choose relationships and activities and inputs that elevate you rather than diminish you. Because here is the reality. Consciousness is contagious, but so is unconsciousness. You become like the people you spend time with. You absorb the energy of your environment. You are influenced by what you read and watch and listen to. And if you are surrounding yourself with unconscious people, with negative energy, with toxic relationships, with mind-numbing entertainment, with fear-based media, you are making the work of transformation exponentially harder. So start being very conscious, very intentional, very selective about what you allow into your space, into your mind, into your energy field. Start spending time with people who are awake, who are growing, who are committed to consciousness, who inspire you rather than drain you. Start consuming content that uplifts you, that educates you, that challenges you to think differently, to see more clearly, to live more fully. Start creating space in your life for silence, for stillness, for solitude, because that is where you connect with your deepest self. That is where you hear the voice of your soul. That is where transformation happens. And be willing to let go of relationships that no longer serve you. Be willing to disappoint people who expect you to remain small. Be willing to be misunderstood by those who are still asleep. Because as you awaken, as you transform, as you become more conscious, some people will not be able to come with you. Some people will not understand you. Some people will even attack you for changing. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be willing to walk alone if necessary. Because your awakening is more important than anyone's approval. Your transformation is more valuable than anyone's comfort. Your consciousness is more precious than anyone's expectations. Step 7, and this brings us full circle. You must cultivate self-love. You must develop self-compassion. You must learn to be kind to yourself, to be patient with yourself, to be gentle with yourself, especially when you fail, especially when you fall back into old patterns, especially when you feel like you are not making progress. Because transformation is not linear. Awakening is not a straight line. Consciousness is not achieved once and for all. It is a moment to moment choice, a daily practice, a lifelong journey, and there will be setbacks, there will be challenges, there will be times when you feel like you are going backward rather than forward. And in those moments, the most important thing you can do is love yourself, accept yourself, forgive yourself, remind yourself that you are human, that you are learning, that you are doing the best you can, that every mistake is an opportunity for growth, that every failure is feedback, that every challenge is strengthening you. Because if you beat yourself up, if you criticize yourself, if you shame yourself for not being perfect, you will create more of the very energy that you are trying to transform. You will reinforce the belief that you are not good enough. You will sabotage your own awakening. So practice self-love every day, in every moment, in every circumstance. Talk to yourself the way you would talk to a beloved child. Treat yourself the way you would treat your best friend. Care for yourself the way you would care for someone you deeply love. And I know this is challenging for many of you. I know you have been programmed to believe that self-love is selfish, that you should put others first, that your needs do not matter. But I am telling you, this is the most destructive programming you carry, because you cannot give what you do not have. You cannot love others if you do not love yourself. You cannot serve the world if you are depleted and exhausted and resentful. Self-love is not selfish. It is the foundation of everything. It is the source of your power. It is the key to your awakening. And until you learn to love yourself unconditionally, until you learn to accept yourself completely, until you learn to value yourself inherently, not for what you do or what you achieve or what you provide, but simply for being, simply for existing, simply for being you, you will never be truly happy, you will never be truly free, you will never be truly awake. Now, let me bring all of this together and show you how it relates to 2026, to the turning point, to the warning that I have been trying to convey. Everything I have been talking about, the self-observation, the questioning of beliefs, the feeling of emotions, the taking of responsibility, the aligned action, the conscious environment, the self-love, all of this is preparation. All of this is training. All of this is building the foundation of consciousness that you will need to navigate the transformation that is coming. Because 2026 is not just a date. It is a threshold, it is a portal, it is a point of no return. And what happens to you personally, what happens to humanity collectively, will be determined by the level of consciousness that has been achieved by that point. Those who have done the work, those who have awakened, those who have transformed, they will move through that portal into a new way of being, a new level of existence, a new dimension of consciousness, and life on the other side will be unrecognizable compared to what came before. It will be more joyful, more abundant, more connected, more meaningful, more alive. But those who have not done the work, those who remain asleep, those who cling to the old consciousness, they will not be able to pass through that portal. They will remain stuck in the old paradigm, and that old paradigm is collapsing. It is disintegrating. It is becoming increasingly chaotic and painful and unsustainable. And by 2026, it will be unbearable for those who are still trapped in it. So the question is not whether you will transform. The question is when. The question is whether you will do it consciously and intentionally now, while you still have time to prepare, while the energies are still supportive, while the window is still open, or whether you will be forced to do it later, under much more difficult circumstances, with much more pain, with much more struggle. And I am telling you, as someone who has been watching these cycles for decades, as someone who understands how consciousness evolves, as someone who cares deeply about your awakening, do not wait, do not postpone, do not make excuses. Start now, start today, start in this moment. Let me share with you what I see coming, what I have been observing in the collective consciousness, what the signs are pointing toward. Between now and 2026, you are going to see an acceleration of everything I have been talking about. You are going to see relationships breaking down at an unprecedented rate, marriages ending, friendships dissolving, families fragmenting, not because people are becoming more selfish, but because the unconscious contracts that have been holding these relationships together are no longer sustainable. The tolerance for inauthenticity is disappearing. People are demanding real connection or no connection at all. You are going to see economic systems becoming more volatile, more unpredictable, more chaotic, traditional forms of employment disappearing, old securities evaporating, financial structures that seemed solid revealing themselves to be illusions, and people who have built their entire sense of security on external structures are going to panic. They are going to feel like the ground is disappearing beneath their feet, because it is the old ground is disappearing and a new ground is emerging. But you can only stand on that new ground if you have developed inner security, if you have cultivated consciousness, if you have learned to trust yourself rather than external authorities. You are going to see political systems becoming more polarized, more extreme, more unstable, old institutions losing credibility, old leaders being exposed, old ideologies collapsing, and people who have been looking to politics or government or external authorities to solve their problems are going to be disappointed. They are going to realize that salvation does not come from outside, that transformation does not come from changing the system, it comes from changing consciousness. And the only way to change the world is to change yourself. You are going to see environmental crisis intensifying, climate patterns becoming more extreme, natural disasters becoming more frequent, resources becoming more scarce, and people who have been living unconsciously, consuming mindlessly, taking from the earth without giving back, they are going to face the consequences of their choices, not as punishment, but as natural feedback, as the earth herself demanding that humanity wake up, that humanity become conscious, that humanity learn to live in harmony with nature rather than in opposition to it. You are going to see health crises multiplying, chronic diseases increasing, mental health problems exploding, addiction rates soaring, suicide rates climbing, not because life is getting harder, but because unconsciousness is becoming more painful, because the gap between how people are living and how they are meant to live is becoming wider, because the body and the mind and the soul are rebelling against the unconscious lifestyle that most people are living. And you are going to see, most significantly, a split in consciousness, a divergence in humanity, a separation between those who are awake and those who are asleep. And this split will become more and more pronounced until by 2026 it will be as if there are two different species living on the same planet. Those who have evolved and those who have not. Those who are conscious and those who are mechanical. Those who are creating and those who are reacting. And the experience of life for these two groups will be so different that they will barely be able to understand each other. Now, I want to be very clear about something, because I do not want you to misunderstand what I am saying. I am not talking about some kind of rapture. I am not talking about the saved and the damned. I am not talking about good people and bad people. I am simply talking about consciousness and unconsciousness, about awareness and sleep, about evolution and stagnation, and everyone has the potential to awaken. Everyone has the capacity to transform. Everyone has the opportunity to evolve, but not everyone will choose it. Not everyone will do the work. Not everyone will have the courage. And that is okay. That is their choice. That is their path. There is no judgment in this. There is no condemnation. There is simply consequence, natural consequence. The consequence of consciousness or unconsciousness. The consequence of growth or stagnation. The consequence of courage or fear. And my role, my purpose, my reason for speaking to you today is simply to make you aware of what is happening, to show you what is possible, to give you the tools and the understanding and the motivation to choose consciousness, to choose awakening, to choose transformation, while you still have the time and the opportunity and the support to do so. So, let me give you some very specific predictions, some very concrete things to watch for between now and 2026, so that you can verify what I am saying, so that you can see the signs for yourself, so that you can recognize the acceleration when it happens. Watch for a major shift in the global economy sometime in late 2024 or early 2025. A shift that will shake people's faith in traditional financial systems, that will force people to rethink their relationship with money. That will create both crisis and opportunity depending on your level of consciousness. Watch for a significant increase in relationship breakdowns in 2025, a wave of divorces and separations and endings. Not because people are giving up on love, but because they are refusing to settle for unconscious relationships, because they are demanding authenticity, because they are choosing themselves over comfort. Watch for a major technological breakthrough or disruption in late 2025, something that will change the way we live and work and communicate, something that will create both excitement and fear, something that will separate those who can adapt and flow with change from those who resist and cling to the old ways. Watch for an intensification of social and political polarization throughout this period, a deepening of the divide between different worldviews, different value systems, different levels of consciousness. And do not get caught up in taking sides. Do not get pulled into the drama. Simply observe, simply witness, simply recognize that this polarization is a symptom of the transformation, a sign that the old consensus reality is breaking down and a new one is emerging. Watch for a personal crisis in your own life, something that shakes you, something that challenges you, something that forces you to question everything you thought you knew. And when it comes, and it will come if it has not already, recognize it for what it is, not a punishment, not a problem, but an opportunity, an invitation, a catalyst for your awakening. And watch for moments of grace, moments of synchronicity, moments when the universe seems to be conspiring to support your transformation. Doors opening that you did not even know existed, people appearing who have exactly what you need, opportunities arising that seem too perfect to be coincidence. Because as you commit to your awakening, as you align with your truth, as you step into your power, existence itself supports you, life itself becomes your ally, the universe itself becomes your partner in transformation. Now, as we move toward the conclusion of our time together, I want to give you some final guidance, some practical wisdom, some essential reminders that will help you navigate the period between now and 2026. First, do not try to do this alone. Do not isolate yourself. Do not think that you have to figure everything out by yourself. Find support, find community, find people who are on the same path, who understand what you are going through, who can encourage you when you are discouraged, who can challenge you when you are stuck, who can celebrate with you when you break through. Second, develop a daily practice, something that keeps you connected to your center, something that reminds you of who you really are, something that anchors you in consciousness, whether it is meditation or yoga or journaling or walking in nature or creative expression. Find something that works for you and commit to it. Make it non-negotiable. Make it as important as eating or sleeping, because it is the foundation of your awakening. It is the source of your strength. It is the key to your transformation. Third, trust the process. Trust yourself. Trust existence. Even when things do not make sense, even when you cannot see the path ahead, even when everything seems to be falling apart, trust that there is a deeper intelligence at work. Trust that you are being guided. Trust that everything is happening for your highest good, even if you cannot understand it in the moment. Fourth, be patient with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. Transformation takes time. Awakening is not an event, it is a process. Consciousness unfolds gradually, and there will be setbacks and challenges and moments when you feel like you are not making progress, but you are. Every moment of awareness counts. Every act of courage matters. Every choice for consciousness makes a difference. Fifth, stay focused on your own journey. Do not compare yourself to others. Do not judge yourself by external standards. Do not measure your progress by someone else's timeline. Your path is unique. Your awakening is yours alone. Your transformation will unfold in its own way and its own time. And the only person you need to be better than is who you were yesterday. Sixth, remember why you are doing this. Remember what is at stake. Remember the vision of who you can become. Remember the life that is possible for you. Remember the joy and the freedom and the fulfillment that await you on the other side of this transformation. And let that vision pull you forward. Let that possibility inspire you. Let that promise sustain you when the journey gets difficult. And finally, know that you are not alone. Know that there are millions of people around the world who are going through this same process, who are asking the same questions, who are facing the same challenges, who are committed to the same awakening. You are part of a global transformation. You are part of a collective evolution. You are part of humanity's greatest adventure, the adventure of becoming conscious, the adventure of waking up, the adventure of discovering who we really are and what we are really capable of. So, my friends, as we come to the end of our time together, I want to leave you with one final thought, one final challenge, one final invitation. 2026 is coming, whether you are ready or not. The transformation is happening, whether you participate or not. The evolution is unfolding, whether you choose it or not. But you do have a choice, you do have agency, you do have power, the power to wake up, the power to transform, the power to become who you truly are. And I am telling you, from the depths of my being, from the totality of my experience, from the clarity of my seeing, that this is the most important choice you will ever make. This is the most significant decision of your life. This is the opportunity that you have been waiting for, perhaps for lifetimes. The opportunity to awaken, to transform, to evolve, to become fully human, fully alive, fully conscious. So do not waste this opportunity. Do not postpone this choice. Do not let fear or doubt or conditioning keep you from your destiny. Start today. Start now. Start in this very moment. Take one step. Make one choice. Do one thing that moves you toward awakening. And then take another step. Make another choice. Do another thing. And keep going. Keep moving. Keep growing. Until one day you will look back and realize that you are not the same person who started this journey. You will realize that you have transformed. You will realize that you have awakened. You will realize that you are living the life you were meant to live, being the person you were meant to be, expressing the consciousness you were meant to express. And when that day comes, when you cross that threshold, when you pass through that portal into the new consciousness, you will understand why I have been so insistent, why I have been so urgent, why I have been so passionate about this message. Because you will see that everything I have been telling you is true. You will experience the joy and the freedom and the fulfillment that I have been describing. You will know beyond any doubt that the journey was worth it, that the struggle was necessary, that the transformation was essential. So go now, go with my blessing, go with my love, go with my absolute confidence in your capacity to awaken and do the work, do the practice, do the transformation, not because I am telling you to, not because you should, not because you have to, but because you want to, because you are ready to, because you know deep in your soul that this is what you came here for. This is what your life is about. This is your purpose, your path, your destiny. 2026 is the turning point, the threshold, the portal, and you are being invited to cross it, to step through it, to enter into a new way of being, a new level of consciousness, a new dimension of existence. And I promise you, I absolutely promise you, that if you say yes to this invitation, if you commit to this transformation, if you do the work that is required, your life will never be the same. You will never be the same. And you will look back on this moment as the moment when everything changed, the moment when you woke up, the moment when you became who you truly are. So wake up, my friends. Wake up now. Wake up today. Wake up before it is too late. Wake up while there is still time. Wake up and claim your birthright. Wake up and step into your power. Wake up and become the conscious, awakened, transformed human being that you were always meant to be, because the world needs you. Humanity needs you. Consciousness itself needs you. And 2026 is waiting. The turning point is approaching. The portal is opening. And the only question that matters is, will you be ready? Will you be awake? Will you be conscious when the moment comes? I believe you will be. I trust that you will be. I know that you have what it takes. And I am here in spirit, in consciousness, in love, supporting you, believing in you every step of the way until we meet again, until we recognize each other on the other side of this transformation, until we celebrate together in the new consciousness that is emerging. Go well, go deeply, go consciously, and above all, go lovingly. Because love is the only force powerful enough to transform you. Love is the only energy that can awaken you. Love is the only truth that matters. And when you learn to love yourself, when you learn to love life, when you learn to love existence itself, you will have found the key to everything, the answer to every question, the solution to every problem, the fulfillment of every longing. And that, my dear friends, is what I